Are you about to kick off an agile transformation? Are you struggling to know exactly where to start? You're worried you might miss something? Don't worry, I got you covered. In this video, we're going to be running through all the areas you need to tackle and some kind of changes you need to make in each of those areas to help you get the best out of your transformation. Welcome, my friends. Karim.harbott here, talking all things business agility and innovation. Now, if you're enjoying these videos, please hit that like button. I'll be releasing new ones every week, so hit that subscribe button to never miss out. Today, I'm going to be covering the 6 enablers of business agility. Now, why 6? Good question. This model has evolved over many years. I've worked with countless organizations on big agility transformations. And the one thing I've noticed is that far too often, the focus is narrow, really narrow. And so many different areas are missed. And so about 5 or 6 years ago, I started trying to get a picture of all of the areas that need to be addressed in order to achieve success in transformations. And this has evolved, but I've distilled it down to what I believe are the 6 most important areas to focus on. And of course, in those areas, there are going to be many patterns. We won't cover those today. This is just the big picture. This is, if you ignore these things, you are likely to struggle. If you ignore any one of these things, you're going to have problems. Just like a plane, right? If there's one of the wings doesn't work, you probably don't want to be on that plane. Everything works together, and you need to make sure you're focusing on the whole. And this is going to try and give you a picture of that whole. So let's dive right in. Number 1, and I start here for a reason. That enabler is leadership and management. Now, everything starts here. All right. If leaders don't change the way they show up, if they don't change the way they behave, if they don't change their mindset and worldview, nothing else is going to change and nothing else is going to matter. I don't care how many processes and practices you change. If the leadership doesn't evolve with this, in fact, drive this, not just be on board, but drive it, it's over. In the last 100 years, leadership and management has transformed. Rewind to the Industrial Revolution and command and control, Tayloristic micromanagement was pretty effective. It wasn't particularly nice to be around, but it was effective. That no longer works in a world of VUCA, of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. There's no way, absolutely no way, that one or two or one small number of people at the top can make effective decisions. It's too complex. Okay, so the way that leadership and management has evolved is, instead of trying to get all of that rich information from the people doing the work up to the decision makers and the authority so they can make the decision and push that down, it's slow, it's ineffective. The most effective organizations are pushing that authority down, pushing that decision making down to where the information is. So quick, contextual, effective decisions can be made by those with the information, by those doing the work. All in alignment, of course, with the overall strategy and the outcomes that we are looking for. So if leaders don't go on that journey, you are going to be constrained by that model. Right? So that's the first thing. If leaders don't change, if managers don't change their models, their behaviors, their worldviews, it's going to be over before it even begins. The second enabler is organizational culture. So important, this one. By the way, I'm going to say that about every single enabler because they are all so important. But culture comes up time and time again as the number 1 impediment to greater agility. Look at any survey, the version 1 State of Agile report, anything you care to look at, and the organizational culture being at odds with the Agile values and principles comes up as the biggest impediment to greater agility. So if the culture of the organization doesn't evolve towards one of experimentation, of openness, of trust, of transparency, of all of these great things we know enable agility and enable innovation and creative knowledge work, then again, you're going to struggle. Now, this is led from the top. So this is so interconnected with leadership and management because they and their behaviors and the policies they make will shift the culture. Now, we could do a whole video on culture change, and I probably will at some point. But all I say now is you change culture by changing behaviors. Change behaviors by changing policies. All right, so you can make small policy and structural changes which will lead to behavioral changes, which will lead to mindset changes, which will lead to culture change. And we'll talk about that in another video. But it's absolutely vital somebody's looking at that. Number 3 is organizational structure. Imagine this. You are on a cruise liner and somebody says to you, you need to spin around and go the other way. How long is that going to take you to turn around? Right? I don't know, because I'm not an expert on cruise liners, but it's probably not going to be a couple of seconds. It's probably not going to be a couple of minutes. There's going to be a massive turning circle, and it's going to take a long time, like an oil tanker trying to turn that thing. It's going to take a lot of force, a lot of effort, a lot of time, and you don't want to be trying to be nimble when you're on one of those. I don't care how good the captain is. I don't care how good the navigator is. I don't care how good all the officers are. You're not going to change direction quickly. Now imagine a flotilla of speedboats, and they needed to change direction quickly. Iceberg straight ahead. We've got to avoid that. All right? But how quickly are they going to change direction? Whoosh. They're going to spin around. They're going to go the other way. Why? Because they are designed for agility. They're designed to be nimble. They are structured in that way. Now, most organizations are the former. They are structured to be slow, to resist change, to be efficient at doing the thing they're doing. They are not structured for change. They are not structured for experimentation and innovation and course correction based on feedback. They're not structured for collaboration. They're in silos. They're not cross-functional. All of these things are barriers to collaboration, barriers to communication, barriers to agility. So if organizations don't change the way they're structured, there's going to be very little that the culture and the leadership and management can do. They'll be constrained by that structure. So that's a key area to address when you're on your transformations. Number 4 is people and engagement. I'd love to go into this more deeply. And again, we're going to make a video on all of these things, but engagement, one of the most important leading indicators of success. Time and time again, studies have shown organizations with high engagement dramatically outperform organizations with medium or low engagement. And if you look at the stats, the most comprehensive report out in 2017 said that only 15% of employees are engaged in their work. They're the ones who, by the way, are really committed to the organization and the work that they're doing, and they drive organizational performance and innovation. We want those people, right? Those are the people that make organizations successful. And only 15% are engaged in their work. The rest are either disengaged, they're just turning up in body, but not in spirit. They're the ones that celebrate midday on Wednesday because they're halfway to the weekend, right? They turn up and they leave at 5 p.m. and they don't think about it again. We don't really want too many of those. And the rest are actively disengaged. They're trying to sabotage your organization. We don't want any of those people, right? So how do we shift that number from 15 upwards? Well, there's so many things. Autonomy, mastery, purpose, giving people a sense of purpose, giving them the ability to make decisions, trust, transparency, building connection. So many things you can focus on, but somebody needs to be making sure that the people side of things is focused on. It's so important. Great teams, high-performing teams, it's because of the culture and the collaboration and the communication and the engagement. Think about when you've been really engaged in something. What are the conditions that have led to that? It's probably not having to follow processes and rules and turning up and being told what to do and not even knowing why you're doing what you're doing. That's soul destroying, and we don't want that. HR policies are key. Okay, annual performance reviews, all of these things we know are hangovers from the Industrial Revolution, from a bygone era where the world was stable and predictable. We are not there anymore. We need to reinvent and rethink all of these things. People, engagement, HR, an absolutely vital enabler to innovation and agility. And we come to number 5 on our list of 6 enablers of business agility, and it's governance and funding. Now, fear not. This is not as dry as it sounds. This is not about accounting. This is about how we choose to invest money and to govern that. Many organizations are still stuck in the project mentality of we need to know everything up front. What am I going to get? When am I going to get it? What are the benefits going to be? And I'm going to make a few big multi-million pound, dollar, euro investments in a small number of things. But I'll make sure they're the right things up front by thinking really hard about it. Well, that's not how innovation works. With innovation, we need to test many ideas cheaply, quickly, and easily. We need to make many small bets, experiments. We need to kill the ones cheaply that don't work, and we need to double down on the ones that do. We need to invest on an incremental funding model, like a venture capitalist would, based on data, based on customer data. You're testing your ideas. Is this the right thing to build? Is this going to work? Is there a business model we can build about this? Do we have the capability to build it? We test that cheaply and then we ramp it up. We don't say, here's 20 million pounds, go away and do this project because we really think it's the right thing to do. Oops, we wasted our money. All right. So we need to reinvent how governance and finance works. That is absolutely vital. And again, a report from the Business Agility Institute puts that down as one of the top 3 enablers of business agility. There is vital. You can change all the other stuff, but if the finance, if when we follow the money, they are making us know up front what we're going to do rather than allowing us to experiment with customers and to come up with the best thing to do, again, it's going to be over before we start. And finally, number 6. By the way, number 6, I put at the end because it's the thing that most organizations are already focusing on. It's ways of working. It is processes, it is practices, it is tools, techniques, frameworks. And these are important. We have to change working practices. We have to change the way we collaborate and do our work. But if the other 5 pieces of the puzzle aren't in place, this is meaningless. And this is why so many organizations struggle. They send people on a Scrum class or whatever it is. They come back and they think, go away and be agile. Well, how does that work? Without leadership changing their behaviors, without the culture shifting, without organizational structure shifting, without people and engagement and HR policies, and without governance and funding in place. Those enable the processes and practices and frameworks. So if you're trying to do that without tackling the other 5 things, I'm sorry, you're going to fail. And I've seen it so many times. And I really want that message to start sinking in. When organizations embark on this, you've got to focus on the whole. A coherent set of actions in all 6 areas interacting to give you the results and take a more holistic and strategic approach to agility. Let me know if that was interesting. Let me know which you're doing well on, which you're struggling on, and if you disagree with my 6 enablers, that's okay too. I always love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments and we'll see if you come up with something similar to me. Stay tuned. I'm going to be making an individual video for each of these enablers where we'll dive much more deeply into the patterns that will help you be effective in your organization. See you next time.